What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 10. Sleepers and studs.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon
so you don't miss our new videos.
In this video, I'm going to give you a sleeper pick and my favorite stud at each position.
And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made.
Oh, and good news, guys. Make sure to stay tuned to the very end of this video because we removed the box that was popping up and blocking the lineup. So now you can see a full lineup using these picks that we made in this video if you stay to the very end. Okay, guys, NFL Week 10. Let's take a look at the quarterback position. One of my stud picks at the quarterback position is Justin Herbert from the LA Chargers playing the Minnesota Vikings, who have the 7th worst defense overall and they're middle of the pack defending opposing quarterbacks. Justin Herbert has averaged 24.8 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 3.5 rush attempts per game. He's going to be about 6% owned, projected at 22.2 fantasy points here in Week 10. He's 7,300 DraftKings salary, 700 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 53 points scored in this game, with the Chargers favored by 3.5. So you got a pretty good matchup here, a high-scoring game, a close, competitive game, and Justin Herbert scored 35 fantasy points last week. He had 5 rush attempts, so he's got a pretty big ceiling. I think he can go back-to-back with 25-plus fantasy points. So I like Justin Herbert here versus the Minnesota Vikings. Okay, a sleeper pick at the quarterback position is Mac Jones from the New England Patriots playing the Cleveland Browns, who have a good defense overall, but they give up the 8th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. Mac Jones has averaged 14.4 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 2.1 rush attempts per game. He's projected at 15.6 fantasy points here in Week 10. He's only 5,300 DraftKings salary, 1,200 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 45.5 points scored in this game, with the Patriots favored by 2.5. So this is a good quarterback matchup for Matt Jones. And although he's only averaging 14.4 fantasy points per game on the season, he does have 25 plus fantasy point upside. He scored 25 fantasy points 3 weeks ago, so he can get there. And this is a deep sleeper pick. This would be a tournament play only. If you're looking to save some salary at the quarterback position and hope to get 20 plus fantasy points, I think he can get there this week against a beatable Cleveland Browns passing defense. So I like Mac Jones as a sleeper pick here versus the Cleveland Browns.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal,
all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
And we'll send you $25 PayPal.
So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Okay, let's take a look at the running back position. My running back stud is Jonathan Taylor from the Indianapolis Colts playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have the 11th worst defense overall, and they're middle of the pack defending opposing running backs. Jonathan Taylor has averaged 22.5 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 15.6 rush attempts per game and 3 pass targets per game. he's going to be about 12% owned, projected at 20 fantasy points here in week 10. He's 8,100 DraftKings salary, 1,300 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 47.5 points scored in this game, with the Colts favored by 10.5. So this game should be a running game script, and Jonathan Taylor has scored 37, 21, and 22 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 19, 16, and 18 rush attempts on top of 2, 4, and 3 pass targets. So Jonathan Taylor has seen increasing volume, getting 20 touches or more for the past 3 weeks, well, 21 touches or more for the past 3 weeks. So his volume has been increasing. He's had excellent production, and I expect that to continue. In a game they should be able to take the lead. I expect Jonathan Taylor to get 20 plus touches in this one, score at least 1 touchdown. So I like Jonathan Taylor here versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay, now a surprising sleeper pick at the running back position is Christian McCaffrey from the Carolina Panthers playing the Arizona Cardinals, who have a good defense overall. They've been good versus opposing running backs, but Christian McCaffrey has averaged 18.3 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 16.5 rush attempts per game and 5.5 pass targets per game. He's on the field for 88% of the snaps, and he's only going to be about 3% owned, projected at 19.8 fantasy points here in week 10. He's 8,400 DraftKings salary, 600 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 44.5 points scored in this game, with the Panthers trailing by 10.5. Now, I'm not worried about the game script here because Christian McCaffrey can catch passes out of the backfield, and he got 19 touches last week, so I'm expecting 20 plus touches from him this week. Now 2 weeks removed from that injury, he should get plenty of volume here versus the Cardinals. So I like Christian McCaffrey here versus the Arizona Cardinals. Okay, let's take a look at the wide receiver position. One of my wide receiver studs is Deontay Johnson from the Pittsburgh Steelers playing the Detroit Lions, who have the second worst defense overall. They're middle of the pack defending opposing wide receivers. Deontay Johnson has averaged 17.5 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 9.9 pass targets per game. He's on the field for 86% of the snaps. He's going to be about 11% owned, projected at 17.4 fantasy points here in week 10. He's 6,800 DraftKings salary, 600 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 42.5 points scored in this game, with the Steelers favored by 8.5. Now, I'm a bit concerned about that low-scoring game total, but Deontay Johnson is getting monster volume. Although he only got 6 pass targets last game, he had 13 and 13 pass targets in each of the 2 games before that, even getting a rush attempt or 2 every once in a while, and he scored 12, 16, and 19 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So he's getting monster volume and has pretty big upside in a good matchup. So I like Deontay Johnson here versus the Detroit Lions.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all the tools for NFL. NBA is right around the corner. This is a great time to get in and try everything for 1 month. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, now a sleeper pick At the wide receiver position is Deontay Harris from the New Orleans Saints playing the Tennessee Titans, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, but they give up the absolute most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Deontay Harris, he's averaged 9.7 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 4.4 pass targets per game. He's only going to be about 1% owned, projected at 8.3 fantasy points here in Week 10. And he's only 4,000 DraftKings salary. He's 1,400 more on FanDuel. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 44 points scored in this game, with the Saints trailing by 3. But take a look at his last 2 games. He scored 11 and 9 fantasy points in his last 2 games off of 8 and 7 pass targets. So that's pretty good volume for a guy that's only 4,000 DraftKings salary, averaging 10 fantasy points over the last 2 games, and at only 1% ownership. So I like Deontay Harris here versus the Tennessee Titans. Okay, let's take a look at the tight end position. My tight end stud is Kyle Pitts from the Atlanta Falcons playing the Dallas Cowboys, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. Kyle Pitts has averaged 12.8 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 7.1 pass targets per game. He's on the field for 74% of the snaps. He's going to be about 9% owned, projected at 13.9 fantasy points here in Week 10. He's 5,800 DraftKings salary, 1,100 more on FanDuel, and Vegas thinks there's going to be 55 points scored in this game, with the Atlanta Falcons trailing by 8.5. So you got a great tight end matchup here, a super high scoring game, and a passing game script. I could see a ceiling game for Kyle Pitts, 20 plus fantasy points at only 5,800 DraftKings salary. So I like Kyle Pitts here versus the Dallas Cowboys. Okay, my sleeper pick at the tight end position is Hunter Henry from the New England Patriots playing the Cleveland Browns, who have a good defense overall. They've been middle of the pack defending opposing tight ends. Hunter Henry has averaged 9.8 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 4.2 pass targets per game. He's on the field for 70% of the snaps. He's only going to be about 1% owned, projected at 9.1 fantasy points here in Week 10. He's 4,100 DraftKings salary, 1,300 more on FanDuel, and Vegas thinks there's going to be 45.5 points scored in this game, with the Patriots favored by 2.5. So I'm just going out on a limb here, but if I wanted to make a super lineup with 2 low ownership sleeper picks and save a ton of salary, I would go with Mac Jones, stack him with Hunter Henry, and then you're going to have a ton of salary left over to stack in all the studs you want into that lineup. And if Mac Jones and Hunter Henry can connect for, let's say, 2 touchdowns, you're going to have a huge advantage over the field. So it's a high risk, high reward play, but I like Hunter Henry here versus the Cleveland Browns.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again and good luck.